Hi, Amanda. Welcome to the Overcoming Your Story podcast. Where are you calling from?
Lagos, Nigeria.
Oh, wow. So you're our first psychotherapist on this podcast. So, dear listeners, Amanda Iheme is a psychotherapist based in Lagos. She founded Ndidi, um, her private practice in 2017. She's also an architecture photographer and I think a writer. I sense that she writes. She will tell us more. So, Amanda, can you introduce yourself in your own words to our guests?
I think you pretty much done most of the introduction. I don't think there's anything more I can add. My name is Amanda. Um, and like Miriam said, I do run my own private practice here in Lagos, Nigeria called Ndidi. And I work with people who are struggling with depression, anxiety, grief, post traumatic stress disorder, and existential crisis. And I also work as an architecture photographer. With a major focus in pre-colonial and tropical modern buildings in Nigeria, but with Lagos being my area of focus because that's where I currently reside. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. That's what I do for a living, and sometimes just for entertainment.
That's really interesting. I think it's really powerful that you're a therapist, you're an African, you're a woman, and you're based in Lagos, and you have your practice on the continent because we don't hear these voices enough. So, how did you decide on this career? How did you decide to become a therapist coming from a Nigerian family?
So it wasn't really my first choice. I'll be honest. I was quite interested in like how the human mind works, and when I was in school, a classmate of mine had died from brain tumor. So I just said to myself that I wanted to go to UI to go study um, what's it called? Neuro, neurosurgery. Yes. So I was gonna go study neurosurgery, but after some time, my father asked me. He was like, "That if you don't get neurosurgery, what other option do you have in terms of what you'd want to do?" And I thought about it, and I realized that okay, if I don't get neurosurgery, I can always do psychology. So I didn't really have much of a thought of what it was at the time. It did sound interesting because I had been given some brochures from my father to look at schools. And I think I remember one time reading about the course psychology and how it's like about human mind, human behavior. And it seemed to be the next best thing to, well, physically opening a person's head and being able to understand why they behave the way they do or think the way they do is like it's a good switch. So I decided I was like, okay, fine. If I don't get neurosurgery, I'll do psychology. And so I went to school. I did my bachelor's at the University of Cape Coast in Ghana, and I was in school for about 3 years because the course is 4 years. And by my third year in school, I was very convinced that this was definitely an area that I want to specialize in because of how aware it made me, not just about myself, but also about the people around me and understanding the reason why we behave the way we do. So it was very insightful. And then I said to myself, like, I really enjoy this. I can see myself doing this for a very long time. And from my third year in university, I just sort of knew that this was what I want to spend a lot of time doing. I eventually wanted to have my own clinic or hospital, as I termed it at the time. So, and I initially wanted to specialize with kids, but my family helped me see that there was more opportunities if I decided to like be a clinical psychologist than a child psychologist, especially for a country here like Nigeria where therapy was not exactly very it's not widely appreciated or even understood. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you had your father, you said, and people around you who could help guide your choice and see what it could lead to, like your studies could lead to.
Mm, yeah, pretty much. I did have a good support system for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, shifting gears because I talk a lot about trauma on this podcast and in general in my work. Um, can you? I found videos that you made about childhood trauma, the effects and how we heal, and they were really, really insightful. How come you specialized in this? Is it because from your own personal history, or just from what you saw your clients needed?
It's a mixture of both. It's personal histories because growing up, like my childhood, and I can't say like it's the same thing for my siblings because children don't always have the same level of resilience, and or neither do they all have the same interpretation of the experiences that happened to them. But for me, growing up was quite traumatizing. There are some experiences that were very emotionally overwhelming and consistent and persistent over time that made growing up quite difficult for me and depressing too. So I did have an emotionally tough childhood. And I recall being just quite miserable and sad as a child, especially growing up when I got to my teenage years. I just felt a lot of negative energy towards myself and self hate and stuff. So, and which was part of the things that psychology as a course helped me during my third year. We did a course that specialized in child psychology, and from doing that course, I was able to understand a bit more why I felt the way I felt and how the way I felt could have been avoided or managed better when I was growing up, and even just a bit more insight into why I react the way I react. So it helped me understand or gain some insight into my own trauma. But then what you study in school is different from practice. So after I had to deal with my own trauma. I had to, at some point, when my depression got really severe, I had to take care of myself because I was in Nigeria at the time and I couldn't get proper mental health care. So I had to take matters into my own hand. So from being able to sort of heal myself and having the qualifications for it and understanding from personal experience, that was when I realized, okay, if I have all these skills, then I definitely know how I can help other people. And looking at the similarity in the experiences I had in my own childhood and that other Nigerian kids had, because if you bring Nigerian children together and tell them to talk about their childhood, the trauma is the same: the physical abuse, the verbal abuse, the emotional abuse, the spiritual abuse. You'd find the similarity in all their stories. So when I found like, okay, a lot of you have the same challenges that I had, and I was able to overcome. So I think that what I can do is like, since I have this knowledge and skill, I'm just going to use it to help people. And I really want to help people. I genuinely am interested in just helping people get better and have like a happier, fuller, more open and honest life. And being able to give that to myself showed me like it was possible and that it really is a good thing and a good way to live life. So yeah, so because of these two reasons, my own personal experience and then also from seeing that there is a necessity and a need for it, I was able to like, decide to help people.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with our listeners. You mentioned how if the challenges you went through had been managed differently, maybe they wouldn't have had the impact they had on you. Because not what I understand from it is that not all traumatizing experiences can transform into trauma. It's the way they are dealt with. And in the context we live in, there's not much space to have these conversations about emotions, about especially for children. Is that what you also see?
Yes, and it's even just acknowledging that kids are kids. Because, for example, now people here justify beating kids. They beat children like sometimes like they're animals for the less of things, and they justify it. But when I ask them the same question, okay, fine. If you, as an adult, if you were walking across the room and you probably hit something, broke something, or you were playing with something and it crashed on the floor, would you beat your friend like that? Would you like just descend on your friend and beat them? And if someone hit you like that, you'd call that abuse. You'd complain about it. You'd say it's not acceptable. So why is it that something that is not acceptable to you as a grown adult who has the ability to defend yourself, you think it is okay for you to do it to a child who is very vulnerable, does not have the level of intelligence, awareness, or insight that you do, and is being met and you're saying, okay, it's okay. So you're saying it's okay to abuse vulnerable people, but it's not okay to abuse people that are not vulnerable. So I'm like, it's it's just like, yeah, that's something that just keeps running through my head. It's like you know it's not an okay to do things to do. So why do you do it to kids? Like why do you hit children? How is that a form of discipline when you create a sense of fear around yourself when it comes to kids?
Yeah, I that resonates deeply with me. You talked about how when kids come together or Nigerian, they talk about their childhood, and there are many similarities in the abuse they go through. That's what I was talking about, the silent epidemic of trauma, because it's as if it's normal for people to go through these things, and actually they have consequences. Um, there's a video where you talk about the connections between childhood trauma and adult life. Can you share a little bit more from your experience, from your work, how trauma affects adult life?
It does affect adult life in many different areas and different ways. Like for some people, it manifests a lot in their careers. Some people, it manifests in their relationships. For some people, it manifests in their friendships. Some people, it manifests in the way they see the world. So every different individual, their trauma manifests in not usually not in a singular way, but in just like very many different ways. So for example, now when I work with children, for example, that come from homes where they experience a lot of physical abuse. Some of them tend to then think that that sort of physical abuse, especially when it's a family where they tell you that, oh, the reason why I'm abusing you is because I care about you or I love you, so I'm trying to teach you how to behave and see. They make those experiences very comfortable for the child. So when the child grows older, what that child thinks is that if somebody hits me or someone does this physically abuses me, that that person loves me or that person cares about me or that person is trying to tell me how to be a better version of myself, that they interpret the physical abuse as a form of help and a source of growth. There are some people who experience, okay, my parents were not together growing up, and they were separated, and the parents were not able to manage an amicable separation from each other. Like the divorce was not a peaceful one, and the child was put in the middle of it and having to be the caretaker for both parents. Some children grow up, first of all, not desiring to be in marriage because they think that the way their parents' marriage turned out is the same thing that's going to happen to them, and then they find themselves going more towards relationships where they have to they have to play the role of a caretaker of taking care of other people's feelings and not prioritizing their own feelings as well. If you were raised in a house where constantly you're being abused by either a parent or a sibling or an older family member, and constantly what this person is telling you is you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not beautiful enough, you're not worthy, nobody would like you, if you do this, this is what's going to happen, if you do that, that's what's going to happen. So when they keep saying that to you over and over and over again, what then happens is that you then start to imbibe those thoughts and think that, okay, the way these people view me is definitely a perfect description of the person that I am. And then when you become an adult, your self-esteem and your self-worth and confidence is affected, because then you start to see yourself as less than, you start to see yourself as not good enough, you start to see yourself as, oh, okay, that I'm ugly, I'm not worthy, people wouldn't like me. And because of that, you don't open up yourself to new relationships. You don't know how to talk to people, you're not friendly, you don't know how to sustain or maintain relationships that you form, and it affects even the way you work, how you deal with your clients, how you talk to people in your marriage, in your relationships. You're probably just cold and callous because you continue to carry on that feeling of I am not good enough. I am not good enough inside of you. So really, like the way you are raised as a child, what your parents give to you is literally the foundation that you end up building for the rest of your life. And parents who don't take up the time to heal their own trauma end up just passing that on to their kids and affecting them in such a negative way. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, because I totally agree that without awareness, we just recreate these cycles, and we don't even know we are recreating cycles. We just pass it on, and there's so much shame too around trauma, and And I think it stops people from seeking help because they think the problem is them, right? That there's a defect with them, or everybody's thriving, everybody's doing well, and they don't get it. Can you talk to that? That's something I struggled a lot with.
The shame is it really comes from like the culture, to be honest, that lets makes people think that these negative things that are happening to you, it's okay and it's normal for it to happen. Why are you making a big deal? So your father beat you, me, do you know what they did to me when I was a child? Like, do you know how much I suffered? Your parents are abusive. Oh, don't, why are you complaining about it? That's how parents are. You should appreciate them. You should be grateful you even have parents in the first place. That's your family. Family never leaves family. Family must always stay. Even if family is literally breaking your life apart and making you miserable and causing you to hate yourself, they are still your family. So you need to maintain your relationship with family. So it's like the culture does not allow you to fully express your pain. It's like you expressing discomfort or pain in any way is like, why are you doing that? Why are you complaining? You shouldn't be complaining at all about anything. Like everything is fine. And even if it's something worth complaining about, just complain about it. The moment the person says they are sorry, just let it go. You don't have to keep dragging it. So there's no proper processing of the challenges that the person is going through. There's no healthy dealing with of the problem. Rather, it's to ignore, pretend it didn't exist. Kind of like how the Nigerian government treats Nigerians, for example. Something really bad happens, people complain about it. They then say to you, "Oh, don't worry, we will fix the problem. Just ignore it, ignore it." So it's like the idea that something could be distressing, or someone could be hurting another person, or something dissatisfying could be happening, you're not allowed to complain about it, especially when it's emotional. Don't complain about it. Just keep quiet, suppress it, pray about it. Your God will provide. Just keep quiet. Don't make too much noise about it. But if you do, then why you're trying to bring discord, you're trying to make other people unhappy, you're trying to bring problem into the family or the relationship. So it's like you're not really allowed to do it because people don't want to take responsibility for their own actions. They don't want to take responsibility for their behavior, and they don't want to be accountable for the shit that they've done. So because of that, they rather tell you to keep quiet, don't talk about it, rather than complain and hold somebody else accountable. So that's what I see happening, and that's the reason why a lot of people can't really come out and say, "Oh, this person hurt me in that way or this way," because they feel that if they do, first of all, nobody's gonna listen to them, and second of all, even if they do, they would diminish or dismiss how important that thing is for that person, like how they feel.
Yeah, yeah, that deeply resonates. As if everyone is people are threatened when someone starts saying, "I don't feel okay." You know, directly they say, "But you're not the first person to go through this. Can't you just listen to the person?" Like, yeah, it's really a big problem.
Yeah, people are. That's a very very apt way to describe it. People are threatened when people start complaining. Like look at how the Nigerian government has decided to shut off Twitter because people are complaining. People are complaining, and they're like, if you're complaining about something, then it means I'm doing something wrong. And if you're telling me I'm doing something wrong, that defeats the idea that I have created for myself, the reality that everything is fine, that I'm in control, that I'm doing perfectly well, because people want to believe so much that they are right, they are perfect, they are correct, they're not doing anything wrong because it is coming from their own head. So they think that, okay, because it's coming from my head, everything is okay. So it's like, no, it's not. Like you could be making a mistake, and it's okay for people to complain and say that they're not happy with something, because that could let you see things that you're not even aware of. So yeah.
No, that's really very important. And I think even the same dynamic you're describing for the state goes for the family, for the parents, the adults, and the children, because they just in our culture is that the adult knows everything, which is not true. And if we are open, we can learn so much from kids. I have three daughters. They're growing up in Canada. I grew up in Cameroon, so if I'm open, I can learn so much from them because they're growing up in a new context, in a childhood that I didn't have. So I cannot say I know everything what they need. No, I need to be learning along the way with them, and we just have to keep that open mind. I saw you on a on a TV show where you were talking about raising awareness on mental health. So, how have you seen that in your 4 years that you've had your practice? Have you seen a bit of a difference with awareness about the importance of mental health?
Definitely has changed. Like even when I read the news now, about people's lives, there's always that mention of, oh, the psychological effect of this, like the psychological, and I'm like, okay, okay. Look at all of y'all saying psychological, like, all right, go Nigeria. Like it's really nice to see that people are paying attention to it. Even during this pandemic, there was all of that consideration of what is the effect that the pandemic is having on people's mental well-being globally and also locally. Now, in Lagos, of course, the conversation is louder in Lagos. Other parts of Nigeria, I'm not particularly so sure. So, so yes, it's getting better. Like we still have a lot of work to do, and we do need the government to rally behind us and say, okay, this is good for the people, because they have a louder reach when it comes to the people than we as individuals will ever have. Like they have a closer contact with the people. So yeah, we definitely do need the government to rally behind us. But apart from them doing that, we are also doing our best. And I think a lot of the credit in terms of um, the growth of mental wellness has to be given to the already existing structure that we had, and especially to the NGOs that have taken it upon themselves to educate people and to go into places that we, the practitioners and the doctors, do not have either the time or the access to go. Because I'm sitting in my office, working with clients on a day to day basis. It's not that often I'll have the time to get up and say, okay, I want to go and run an outreach in Makoko, or I want to go and run an outreach somewhere in Ikeja, or I want to go to Lekki and run an outreach about mental health. So I may not have the time and the access and the awareness. I'm sorry, not the awareness, the time and the access to do that. But with this lack of better organizations, they work with people in the grassroots level. And that is so important in terms of dissemination of information and creating mental health awareness. And people grassroots level, middle income earners, low income earners, and even the high net worth people, they are the ones who really allow create that space for a lot of people to just ask questions that we do not have the capacity to answer at once. So when they do the work, all of that conversion then becomes, where can we find a therapist? And they are usually the first point of call that a lot of Nigerians go to when they're looking for mental health care, is to go to these NGOs, and the NGOs refer them to us. So a lot of the credit when it comes to like the mental awareness that I've witnessed over the past 4 years, I'd say this and I'll say this over and over again. It really does go to the NGOs, honestly, and then to the young practitioners who have now come up and taken up that mantle and said, I want to be a therapist. I see the necessity. I want to be a counselor. People reach out to me often asking, Amanda, okay, I didn't study therapy when I was in school, but I want to be a counselor because I know that I really genuinely want to help people feel better. I want to help take care of people. So yeah, so it's like there are people like we're not 100% there yet. We're not even close to 100%. So I remember telling I was talking to on a different podcast, and I said that I choose to see it as Nigeria is a country that is now becoming mentally aware, not a country that is not mentally aware, because you cannot say that we don't know anything about mental health. We're now in the beginning stages of learning about it, and it's not moving at the speed we would like it to, especially during these times of 2021 and 21st century. Things are moving faster, but here in Nigeria, the good information isn't moving as fast as it needs to. But that does not mean that we're not making any moves at all whatsoever. So the little progress we make, the more people that are showing up for therapy, the more people that are asking for specific kind of care, the more people that are showing up for support groups, all those people that keep showing up, they consistently um, remind me that there are people who need help. There are people who are genuinely looking for help, and there are people who are looking for good places that they can go to get the kind of help that they need. So there is a necessity, that there is a need for the work that I do. So it's not moving fast, but it's moving, and those little steps are important. And even if it's only just like 10 Nigerians that we're able to save, those 10 Nigerians matter.
I hear the importance of that awareness, that education before people get the help, because sometimes without awareness, you don't even know what's happening to you seriously. It's just chaos, right? And when people have the right information, maybe they go to those NGOs and then they get information on why they are not feeling okay, then now they know, and then they get guidance to know that, okay, the next step is to go see a therapist, and then they come to you. I really like that. I hope this grows more and more in the coming years. So, with regards to young women who come to you, because this podcast is geared towards young Black and African women, like what kind of why do they come to you? Like, what kind of issues do they struggle with?
So they come with very diverse issues. They're just thinking about it, I'm like, hmm, very diverse issues. Some people come in with challenges with, let's say, their body image, trying to learn to love themselves. Some people come in with relationship problems, trying to, just learn how do I have a healthy relationship? Is this good for me? I want to communicate better. I want to make better choices. Well, a lot of them come with the desire for self awareness. That's one thing for sure. They come with a desire to want to get better and to know who they are as individuals, just to know themselves, not to lose themselves, to deal with the trauma from childhood, to learn to love them. So I think I get a lot of self awareness requests. Um, and then the usual treating, and also because I specialize in treating depression and anxiety, I get a lot of those. Okay, people who are suffering from depression, women that are suffering from anxiety, but in the end, we all come down to the same place, and it's a lot of women just want to know who they are. I want to know who I am. Why do I feel the way I feel? Why do I think this way? How do I deal with my relationship with my parents? My father wasn't there. My mother, I don't have a good relationship with her. How do I navigate that? What am I supposed to do? How do I survive and become independent? What kinds of relationships should I go to? I'm trying to heal from a breakup. Someone broke my heart. This was the way our relationship worked was, and I just, how do I make it better? How do I choose a better partner after this happened? So yeah, they come with a myriad of different issues.
Thank you. It's good to have like a view like this for for the people listening to us. Um, if do you do virtual therapy? Do you do like Zoom therapy, or I don't know, maybe someone might be interested in contacting you?
Of course, yes. Our therapy sessions for now are primarily virtual because of the pandemic. So we're hoping on getting a physical space sometime next year. But for now, we're primarily virtual. So if there's anyone who is not in the country that wants to get help, you can. We do have, but people do get concerned about how am I going to pay? How am I going to pay? Don't worry about that. There is a way that you can pay for your therapy sessions even if you're not in the country. So, irrespective of where you are in the world, you can always come and get therapy from us. So, all you just have to do is reach out. Just reach out, send us an email, and then we'll definitely. And if any of our payment platforms don't work, we'll find a way to sort it out for you. We'll figure out a timing that works for you. We do have our own time that we have for available for staff because we're not trying to how do I put it? We're not trying to overwhelm our staff, my staff and myself. So, but then we'll try to find a time that works with yours, even if there's a significant time difference. And if at any point in time our services are not up to par for you anymore, or you'd like to explore other therapists, or you find that you can't find a flexible time enough on our calendar, we're very much more than happy to refer you to other Nigerian practices that are just as capable of taking care of you. So we're not going to hoard you and keep you and say, no, you must work with us. No, no, no. If we know that we know somebody else who can provide you with more adequate care than we're capable of, we will definitely hand you over to good hands. So please do reach out to us. We may be your first therapist, or we may be the first point of call for you to find the right therapist for you to work with.
Oh, that's amazing. Can you just remind like the platform and the email?
The name of my practice is Ndidi. That's Ndidi, and that's D for dog. And if you want to find our website, it is ndidi.me. That is ndidi.me. It has a link to anything you require. If you want to book your private sessions, you want to get to know the therapist, and also you can also take advantage of our free virtual support group called Obodo. That's OBODO. It's also on the website as well. You can join any of them. And what Obodo does is that we provide free virtual support groups for people who are suffering from depression, anxiety, grief, um, body image issues, and for teenagers as well. And every support group has a meeting every month. So all you have to do is sign up, you get the link to the meeting, and you join in. So, and anything you discuss with us, whether as a private client or in a support group, it's 100% confidential. So you're in safe hands, and we do love to take care and protect our clients. So they will take care of you. So those are the websites. And if you'd like to follow us on Instagram, for Ndidi, it is n.d.i.d.i. So Ndidi, but with full stops in between. Or you can link it from my own personal page, which is Amanda Iheme. And in my bio, the Instagram page for Obodo and for Ndidi is also available. So you can click on it as well.
Thank you so much. It's so important to have you because you're a specialist. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, just shifting gears, Amanda, with this important work you do. So, how do you take care of your own mental health?
Everyone seems so interested in that question. It's like they're so fascinated. Oh my god, you listen to people's problems every day. How are you carrying this in your head? I think there's this misconception that people have about therapists. Like they think of it like the way you talk to your friend, and if your friend tells you this significant thing is happening in their lives, that's all you continuously, consistently think about all the time. But with therapy, it's vastly different. I work with many different clients. As soon as our session ends, my brain turns off. I have other things I have to focus on and worry about, and even maybe another client session I have to prepare for. And I also have like my own personal life. So I've learned over time how to separate my personal life from my professional so that I'm not too empathetic. And I call it like empathy with boundaries. So it's like I'm empathetic for the period we're in therapy, but once I'm like, okay, have a nice day, that's it. My empathy button turns off because I have to be empathetic for somebody else. I need to hold space for another person. So I can't keep carrying the heaviness of yours with me. And it's like just knowing, having that awareness that just because I am empathetic does not mean that it is my problem. So in the end, it's like, okay, I understand that you're going through this. I know what it can feel like. And I know how to help you and support you through it. But at the same time, being aware that, Amanda, it's person A's problem, it's not your problem. So you don't have to continue to carry it or wear the emotions that come from it. There are some sessions that are very heavy where the person may have experienced a significant amount of trauma and pain. That's a lot. And that when they are sharing, because you're empathizing, you're literally opening up your heart to receive another person's pain, and sometimes it can still linger on you after therapy, which is why it's so good. Like whenever I'm done with therapy sessions, to just go for like a nice walk, to sort of ground myself and remind myself, okay, this is who I am, this is where I am. To ask myself questions like, okay, Amanda, how are you feeling now? How was the therapy sessions today? What do you want to do next? Like to just bring myself back to my own reality so that I'm not continuously carrying work with me. And a client even asked me the same question, like, how do I take care of myself? And I told them, like, I have a really good support system. I have a psychiatrist that I see, and I also want to get a therapist in the future as well. So, like, and I go to see my psychiatrist when I know that things have gone beyond what I am personally capable of handling. So, I mean, I do know how to take care of myself. I know how to confront my own difficult feelings. I know how to manage my own emotions, and if it goes beyond what I know I am capable of, I have friends who are emotionally intelligent around me that can support me. I can ask them questions, I can seek their point of view, and I know that they will always be honest with me and hold me accountable, and they will support me in the kindest way possible. My family members, my siblings especially, are very supportive, and I can share with them frustrations that I have, especially my youngest brother. Then I have like a community of therapists, so we're like five women that are practicing. Let me count first. Yeah, five of us, including me. And every month we have a meetup where we just, talk about work. Everyone gets a chance to share. We ask, like, okay, so what's going on? So you share how you're feeling, and all the other therapists and the other women there, we all just pitch in, like, this is what we think you can do. This is how we think you can help. And it's just really good. So I do have a support system for work. I have a support system at home. And then if whatever it is I'm struggling with goes beyond what I can do and what my support system can provide for me, then I know that I can go to my psychiatrist and talk about it. So I kind of have like a stepped level of care. So I don't ever feel like I don't have support, except it's a case where I choose not to reach out and ask for help. So that's the case. That's the case. So yeah, so that's how I take care of myself. I have very healthy boundaries. I try to live according to my own personal values and principles. I try to treat everyone with respect. I try to be deeply reflective as often as I can and take responsibility for myself. So, and that kind of helps.
Thank you. That's really insightful. I'm training to be a trauma informed coach, and this empathy with boundaries, I will look into that because it's very important to be. Because I was going to ask, how do you transition from one client to the other? But you talked about it, taking walks, grounding yourself.
They're very important, especially when you're dealing with trauma, because trauma is very heavy. And it when you listen to people's pain regularly, it drains you. It really does. And even with work, like for I have a week every month where I don't see their clients, like I don't, and I've learned that from early on that when I have those breaks, it reduces the chances of me burning out. And I'm a person who's like prevention is better than cure. So if I find out there is a problem, I try to figure out how can I prevent it from reoccurring in the future. So I have every month a whole week I don't see clients, and that's really good for me because I can focus on other things. I can focus on myself. I'm not thinking too much about um, other people's problems or so concerned, because the thing is when you're focusing on other people's problems for a period of time, sometimes it gets so easy to escape from yours. So you find yourself just like, oh, but this person needs me, that person needs me. Like you never really give yourself the chance to even think about what's going on in your own family. And therapy can sometimes give you this sort of God complex, because you're here. Someone is coming to you with like this deep trauma that they've experienced that has literally changed their whole life, and they're asking you for help. They're telling you, please assist me. And over time, you see that they're getting better, and they're like, oh my goodness, thank you. People will be like, oh, you saved my life. I couldn't have done this without you. There's like this sort of, you start to feel as if you're like a superhero, because you're dealing with an abstract thing that people can't see, but you're being able to provide significant relief and peace to somebody else. So you can get so caught up in that feeling of helping people and healing people that you forget that you're human as well and that you're not perfect until you come crashing down. So taking that break from work is very necessary and really good because it reminds you of your humanity and it helps you come back down to earth, which is very important when you're doing the kind of work that you're doing.
Wow, those are really strong work ethics. I really love hearing about. Your clients are in good hands, if I
Yes,
might
so
say.
they are. They really are. Like I can confidently say that they're in good hands because I know that I really work hard to make sure that they are in good hands. And to know like this is a very delicate job that I have, and it's people's lives. It's people's lives that I'm responsible for, and so I need to treat them with the utmost care and attention that I can. And I know that if I was in their shoes, there is something that I'd be looking for, and I try to give that to them. I really just want anyone that comes, whether I end up being a therapist or not. That's not what's important. I just genuinely want you to get help.
So we are winding now. We are almost done with the interview. So I want to ask to finish on a light note. So what do you do for fun, Amanda?
I hang out with my friends. Oh my god, it's such a jolly time. I hang out with my friends. We recently had a barbecue, yeah, day before yesterday. So one of our friends said, "All right, guys, come over to my house. Let's roast some sausages and some beef patties and sit down and eat." And that's what we did. We all just shared responsibilities and had like a nice little barbecue. And we sat down and we ate together and drank together, and then we played games after. I need to just talk. And I think spending time with my friends has become my new favorite thing to do. Just go out with them and sit down and just talk and catch up, because life gets so busy these days that I'm spending time working. If I'm not seeing clients, I'm running a practice. If I'm not running a practice, I'm editing pictures. If I'm not doing that, so there's so much to do that it's made me appreciate those moments that I get to spend with my friends. So I see on top of my list spending time with my friends. I like going out for parties. I like to dance. I have cats. I like pet cats at home that I take care of and I spend time with.
Oh,
Yeah, and I love to go to shrine and watch Femi Kuti perform and dance to the music.
oh,
Yeah, I do.
I
And
like that.
I think I'm
So,
also
so
in a.
what kind of music in general?
Do I listen to?
Uh-huh.
So I do. I like Femi Kuti's music,
Hmm.
but I am more inclined to listen to not pop music, but more like folk music, European folk, singer songwriters. What else? How do I? There's a term for this. I don't know how to describe. There's a name for it. I can't. Synth pop. Yes, that is it. I like synth pop. I like folk music. Sometimes I like Nigerian music. It's not exactly my thing. It's a lot of Basbos, Duduke. So it's sometimes it's nice to listen to them at the club for me, but or at a party. But then on my own to say I want to go and find Davido is not gonna happen. So except I'm in like in a dancing mood. So I like Wizkid sometimes because he has like cool music. So I kind of like things that are a little easy to listen to. Some Indian songs from Indian films I've watched, some Korean songs from some Korean series I've watched. Um, I like, what else again do I like? Ghanaian music as well, because I schooled in Ghana for 4 years, so I do listen to some Ghanaian pop. And I think yeah, that's mostly it. That's mostly it.
A very rich taste. I like hearing
Thank
about that.
you. Thank you very
And
much.
yeah, so yeah, just what was the last book you read? That's for my own personal curiosity.
Okay. So I think the right question is, what are the books I am still reading? Because the thing
Oh, okay.
about the way I read books is I don't subscribe to the concept of you have to read 30 something books in 1 year. That's a whole bunch of bull to me. Like, so people who go for those views, I want to read 12 books in 6 months. I'm like, kudos to you. That's really great. But for me, nah, I think that I like to take time to read my books to the point where there are some books I've been reading for like 2 years.
Oh,
I know.
what kind of book is that?
Yeah, there are some books. So the kinds of books I read are there are more nonfiction. So I'd read like biographies, but I'm not really that big on them anyway.
Mm,
I read a lot of books on philosophy, spirituality, psychology, and just general human behavior. So currently, the book I'm reading, one of it is Childbirth and the Growth of Love. It's a very old book that was written in the, let me see if I can find the name of the writer. It has to do with how the child forms affection after being born. Then there is the second one is dreams and nightmares, because I'm quite interested in dreams and people's night, like what is the meaning of a dream. And I find this question comes up, especially during therapy. to analyze people's dreams as a way of helping them to understand the state of mind that they're in. So people bring their dreams to therapists, like, I'll be having this recurring dream over and over and over again. And what does it mean? How do I interpret that? Then I'm also reading Figuring. So, Figuring is by Maria Popova, who is one of my favorite writers. She currently has this blog called Brain Pickings that I engage with frequently. So she had a book that she released in 2019 called Figuring, and I got it when it came out, but I only started reading it this year. Yeah, this year, 2021. So yeah, so I take my time to read books because um the thing I think about books, the books I read, is that by the time I read like a chapter, there is a need for me to carry that information from that chapter into my real life. So I need to now for it. So I'd read it and then try to process it and make sense of it in reality and then come back to the book. So I'd read, I'd go out, I'd live, I'll come back to the book. I'd read, I'd go out, I'd live, I'll come back to the book. So because of that, sometimes the process of living might be a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month. I could have like a whole week where I'm just reading the book back to back and have a whole month where I don't touch it at all because I read a particular line in the book and that line was so profound that I need to figure out what does that really mean and really explore my own understanding of it. So, and then in the process of doing that, I probably get carried away by something else before I then come back to the book. So I have no qualms with reading a book for a year. So those are the three books I'm reading. So maybe by next year I would have finished reading at least one of them. I don't know, but yeah, currently those are the books I'm reading.
Oh, I love that. I also read several books at the same time, so I
Ah,
really,
nice, nice.
yeah. Thank you so much, Amanda. This was an amazing conversation. Do you
You're
have
very welcome.
any concluding words for our listeners before we wrap up our discussion today?
Don't be afraid to start therapy. It's very helpful. It's very immensely helpful, and it is not like talking to your family or your friends or your pastor. It is different from that, and it can really help with making the right decision for yourself and for the people in your life that you love and care about. And that if you decide that you want to have children or that you decide that you want to get married, I strongly suggest that you do the work first of reflecting on your own childhood as an adult to know what are the things that have shaped me as an individual and made me the person that I am before you then embark on taking on somebody else into your care or in your responsibility as your responsibility or someone that you love. So take care of yourself. Look towards becoming more self aware, practice self reflection regularly, forgive yourself for the things that you're not able to do, and forgive the people around you. And always be generous and kind and open because that is the thing that would give you the things that you're looking for the most, which is love and acceptance. That's it.
Oh, wow. I'm so inspired by your
You're
words. Thank you so much, Amanda.
very welcome. Take really good care of yourself.
Thank you. You too.